Hey guys, welcome back. I am Ashley of Noth, here to talk to you about all things A Song of Ice and Fire. In today's video, I am going to present part 2 of my Game of Thrones Season 7 Best Moments series. This video will pick up right where part 1 ended, so if you're ready, I'm ready to count down moments 20 through 11. Let's jump in. Coming in at number 20, Tyrion and Jaime's reunion. It seems like reunions are a recurring theme this season, and just add this one to the long line of others that tugged at your heartstrings. This reunion wasn't happy though, and I found myself sad and kind of depressed while watching it. At this point, Jaime knew Tyrion didn't murder Joffrey, and he also knew how intent Tywin was on killing Tyrion, or else Jaime never would have freed him. So you'd think Jaime would have been more compassionate towards Tyrion here, but he wasn't. After all Tywin did to torment Tyrion through Tyrion's life, Jaime couldn't find it in him to be just a smidge compassionate. Even after Tyrion tried explaining himself and how much their father's hatred really hurt him, Jaime wouldn't budge. Tyrion rarely expresses himself like that, so I just felt some type of way about how Jaime was treating him, and I wanted better for Tyrion. This scene just left a bitter taste in my mouth. Coming in at number 19, Sam cures Jorah's grayscale. Admittedly, this part of the story made me feel sick to my stomach, but it was still important, so I had to include it. I know a lot of people thought Quaithe would be the one to cure Jorah's grayscale, but Sam curing the disease has been foreshadowed in previous seasons on more than one occasion, so it was fitting that Sam was the one to do it. In Season 1, Episode 7, Sam tells Jon that he always wanted to be a wizard. Then in Season 5, Episode 2, Sam has a scene with Gilly and Shireen during which they talk about Shireen's grayscale, and Shireen mentions that hers was cured, but she didn't know how. Fast forward exactly 2 seasons to Season 7, Episode 2, and Sam simply followed the directions to cure Jorah. Hermione Granger would be proud of this wizard. This plot was also personal to me because I have health issues, and I've had first-hand experience with knowing all it takes is just one doctor to work with you and your whole life can be changed. And I think a lot of us can relate to having health problems that aren't textbook, and as was the case for Jorah, doctors won't put in the work to cure you, and they just condemn you to the fate of the illness. So when Sam told Jorah he wouldn't die today, I'll admit I got a tad choked up. And then their handshake at the end of Jorah's time at the Citadel was pretty cool too, because it was the seal on a legitimate happy ending, and in this story, legit happy endings are almost unheard of. Coming in at number 18, Arya spars with Brienne. I have to say, the women of Westeros really kicked butt this season. Brienne kinda always has, from the time we first saw her defeating Sir Loras in the melee, but Arya we got to watch grow into not only a lethal assassin, but arguably Westeros' best swordswoman. In the whole time I was watching this, I was on the edge of my seat. It didn't disappoint me, and I thought it was great that 2 women got a fight scene like this. I was actually taken back to Season 4 as I watched Arya and Brienne, and I felt like I was watching the Red Viper versus the Mountain 2.0, minus the exploding eyeballs. It reminded me that speed can compensate for lack of strength in a fight, so maybe the Mountain is more vulnerable than people think, and considering the Mountain is still on Arya's list. Now, the other part of this I liked was that the sparring session occurred while Sansa was watching. Arya put Sansa on notice that her days of tormenting Arya were done and shit was gonna change in these parts, and change it did. Coming in at number 17, the Hound confronts the Mountain. I've been waiting for this moment for a long time. This was entirely one-sided since the Mountain doesn't speak, but his silence didn't take away from this at all. The scene only lasted about 45 seconds, but it was pretty powerful nonetheless. The main takeaway was that we will apparently get Clegane Bowl. And when the Hound told his brother, "You know who's coming for you, you've always known," I got chills. There's a lot of justifiable hatred and anger here, and the Hound, more than anyone, deserves his vengeance. Not only did the Mountain pick the Hound up and shove his face into a brazier when the Hound was 6, but in their youth, the mountain also killed their sister. So I'm definitely looking forward to the Hound putting his brother down once and for all, and this confrontation was just the start. Coming in at number 16, Arya catches Sansa. I have to say, I loved everything Arya did and said here. It's high time someone checked Sansa and her shady-ass behavior. Arya is saying everything I yell at my TV about Sansa, so this scene was actually cathartic. It's so funny to me because Arya has been sussing out Sansa's loyalty, and her disloyalty showed itself immediately. First off, Sansa was in the wrong by snooping through Arya's room in the first place, trying to cover her own ass. Then, when caught by Arya, Sansa's first instinct was to threaten her by saying she has hundreds of men at Winterfell loyal to her. If Sansa was so loyal to her house, why did she threaten to have Arya killed? She's such a fucking joke. Now, I have to say, I loved Arya's throwback to her time with the waif, with the reference to their game of faces, and then the comment that things didn't turn out so well for the last person who asked Arya questions. And I know a lot of people felt bad for Sansa in this scene, but this was 100% necessary. Had Arya not put the fear of God into Sansa about what would happen if she betrayed Jon, I think Sansa would have actually betrayed him. So, good for you, Arya. Coming in at number 15, Arya reads the letter. Again, here we have Arya saying all the things I've been longing for someone to say to Sansa. Clearly, Sansa sees herself as a victim in Lettergate, but Arya strips her of those excuses. First, Sansa claims she was forced to write it. Oh, really? Was there a knife to your throat? Did they put you on a rack and stretch your bones until they started to pop? But I was just a child. Oh, really? Arya would have let them kill her before she wrote that. But they told me it was the only way to save father. Pause. Is this really what Sansa tells herself so she can sleep at night? Okay, girl, whatever. Unpause. Then Arya says, you were stupid enough to believe them. This is like the ultimate validation from Arya, and I just can't get enough. There's no excuse for what Sansa did, period. And with no excuses left, Sansa shows her true colors. She tells Arya that Arya should be on her knees thanking her, and then she goes on to take credit for reclaiming Winterfell, dissing Jon, saying he lost the battle, but it was won by the men who rode to battle for her. Let's take another pause. Didn't Sansa just chastise Arya and tell her that Winterfell didn't fall into their hands, that they took it back with the Mormonts and the Hornwoods and the Wildlings and the Vale, all of them working together? So which is it, Sansa? You or the team? She is such a flaming hypocrite who still puts herself above everyone around her, and I'm glad she was finally exposed. The best thing Arya said came when she questioned what the Northmen would say if they read Sansa's letter. She wisely asks, what would little Lyanna Mormont say? She's younger than you were when you wrote this. Are you going to say, but I was just a child? Checkmate. At her young age, Lyanna Mormont would never have betrayed her house and wrote a letter for Cersei. Nor would Lyanna have been dumb enough to believe that she could have saved someone by doing so. Sansa is just selfish and stupid and disloyal. Thank you to Arya for proving this. Now, the last thing I want to mention about this is a small detail that might have been overlooked. As Arya reads the letter, she passes by this wall. If you look close at the wall, that's not just random snow, it's actually the word kill. Here's a bit of a closer look. You can see a distinct K, a blurred I in the bottom of both L's. Now, I don't know if this foreshadowed Arya killing Littlefinger, or if it meant something else. Just as Arya passes the word kill, she says the word Lannister while reading. Will Arya kill a Lannister? Queen Cersei is still atop Arya's list. Could this scene have secretly marked Arya as the Valonqar? Let me know what you make of this down in the comments. Coming in at number 14, The Return of Gendry. Don't call it a comeback, call it a takeover. Gendry is finally off that damn boat and he's back with a vengeance. I have to say, I'm really liking this bout it version of Gendry. From the second Davos told him safety was never a permanent state of affairs, Gendry was ready to go, and I loved his dialogue too. What do you think I've been thinking about with every swing of the hammer? How happy I am making weapons for the family that killed my father, the family that tried to kill me. I've been getting ready. I never knew what for, but I've always known I'd know it when it comes. I love this. We haven't seen Gendry in so long that I think we disconnected from him a bit, and this dialogue brought him right back into the fold, got us on his side, and connected to him again. And if you think about it, Gendry has the same beef with the Lannisters as the Starks and Daenerys do, in that the Lannisters killed all their fathers, and I think this drive will make him a very valuable asset. It was also pretty freaking sweet to see Gendry swing that warhammer. Very, very nice callback to his father, King Robert. Gendry meeting Jon was really cool too. His newfound bout it attitude compelled him to march right up and reveal his identity to Jon, despite Davos's proclamation that he was meant to keep it to himself. Also, Jon and Gendry's initial reaction to each other was much the same as Ned and Robert's reactions to each other back in the first episode of the show, both cracking jokes about the other's appearance to break the ice. And it was just a very nice throwback considering Gendry had said that their fathers trusted each other, so why shouldn't Gendry and Jon trust each other? Then Gendry goes on to say that their fathers fought together and they won. I like the setup here, Gendry and Jon as Robert and Ned 2.0. Again on his bout it stuff, Gendry says he wants to go north of the wall with Jon, and when Davos tried to dissuade him, Gendry said he owed Davos his life twice over, but if what Davos said is true about what's beyond the wall, then he can't wait out this war. God, I love this Gendry. And this is why I said, don't call it a comeback, call it a takeover. Gendry is not here to play games, he's not dicking around, he's here to do what needs to be done, and this is exactly the kind of ally Jon needs to help him win the long night. And marry his sister, but that's a video for another time. Coming in at number 13, the death of Lady Olenna. I think Lady Olenna is one of, if not the most missed character already. Nobody threw shade quite like her, nor will anybody ever. Now, the shade was always laced with pearls of wisdom, which is something else I really loved about Lady Olenna. She was just so smart, and if you think about it in that world, you don't survive to her age unless you're smart. I personally thought that the character deserved much better than forced suicide, but even still, Lady Olenna found a way to make it her own, and I have to say she went out like a G. First, Lady Olenna called Joffrey the C-word. Then she planted seeds of doubt about Cersei in Jaime's head by telling him Cersei will cause his downfall and that Cersei is a disease that he'll regret helping to spread. Then, she downs a glass of poison wine like it was a shot of fireball, showing absolutely no fear or hesitation at all. But the Queen of Thorns had one last prick for the Lannisters. She launches into her arguably best dialogue ever, saying, "I'd hate to die like your son," clawing at my neck, foam and bile spilling from my mouth, eyes blood red, skin purple. "Must have been horrible for you as a king's guard, as a father. It was horrible enough for me. A fucking scene. Not at all what I intended. You see, I'd never seen the poison work before. Tell Cersei I want her to know it was me." What a fucking G. Even though the Lannisters won the battle, Lady Olenna got the last laugh, and she died knowing that she hit Cersei where it hurt the most, her children. And now Cersei would have to live with this knowledge, and there's not a damn thing Cersei could do about it. So here's to you, Olenna Tyrell, Queen of Thorns, Mother of Shade. You are definitely missed. Coming in at number 12, Rhaegar and Lyanna's wedding reveal. Finally, I think we all agreed that Rhaegar didn't abduct and rape Lyanna, but there was a lot of debate as to whether or not the two were ever married or if Lyanna was just Rhaegar's mistress. I personally felt that the Kingsguard's presence at the Tower of Joy meant they were married, and it turns out they did elope after Rhaegar had his marriage to Elia Martell dissolved. It's worth noting that Sam wasn't actually the first to confirm this. Way back in Season 4, Episode 1, Oberyn told Tyrion that the beautiful, noble Rhaegar Targaryen left Elia for another woman. It sounds to me like he knew Rhaegar divorced Elia and hadn't simply taken a mistress. What do you guys think? Did Oberyn know the truth all along? But back to the reveal. It kind of gave me all the feels because it was clear these two loved each other, and on this show, scenes like that are rare. It's kind of messed up though because Lyanna didn't bother leaving a note, letting her family know she was leaving of her own accord, and as a result, her father and her brother died. But obviously the biggest payoff is that since there was a marriage, Jon is a legitimate Targaryen with a stronger claim to the throne than Daenerys. So once the truth is revealed, it'll be interesting to see how it affects Dany going forward. If I was her, I'd be pissed. Dany's fought for the throne. She brought the dragons back, but because she's a woman, she can't inherit the throne because all of a sudden a secret Targaryen male heir turns up. Nah, bruh, I'd be outraged. But perhaps the solution will be a marriage between Dany and Jon so that technicalities won't matter. And if that happened, I could see Jon allowing Dany to take the lead and be the primary ruler. I suppose we'll have to wait for Season 8 to see. Coming in at number 11, Nymeria's Return. Of any potential reunion on the show, I've wanted this one the most. And honestly, I wasn't even sure it would happen since the show has pretty much done butt kiss with the direwolves in general. In the books, Nymeria leads a pack of 100 other wolves, and I would have not only loved to have seen that, but I would have loved to see Arya take them north and get a visual of her standing outside Winterfell surrounded by Nymeria's pack as both Sansa and Jon watched from the castle ramparts. But alas, the show severely cut back the size of Nymeria's pack and also opted not to have them go north to Winterfell with Arya. Nevertheless, the reunion between she and Nymeria was still emotional and really cool. Especially since the last time they saw each other, Arya was forced to send Nymeria away to save her life. These two had a much deeper connection in the books, so for me, I experienced that when I watched the scene, and I shed a tear or two. The callback to Arya and Ned's conversation was touching as well. When Nymeria chose not to go with Arya, Arya said, "That's not you." This was taken from her response to Ned that being a lady and marrying and having children wasn't her. I can always go for a Ned reference, so that was a plus for me. But beyond serving as a tearjerker, Nymeria and her pack will serve a larger purpose. This was confirmed by George R.R. Martin in a 2014 interview with Mashable, in which he said, "You don't hang a giant wolf pack on the wall unless you intend to use it." Though he was talking about the books, I believe the same principle applies to the show. Think about it. The show wouldn't have brought Nymeria back after a 6-season absence, only to have her leave again promptly if she wasn't going to be used again later. The show wanted us to remember her, to remember that Nymeria and her pack are out there. If I had to guess, knowing that George R.R. Martin is a huge fan of Tolkien's Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit stories, I would say Nymeria and her pack will save the day during an epic battle when all hope appears lost for Jon and crew, or if Arya herself is in imminent danger. After all, Tolkien never shies away from an eagle rescue. And there you have it, my picks 20 through 11 for the best moments of Season 7. If you enjoyed this video, be on the lookout for my next video, which will conclude this mini-series and cover my top 10 picks for the best moments from this season. I am Ashley of Noth. If you liked what you saw today, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, and join my Calazar. As usual, I hope everyone watching has an excellent day, and 7 blessings, friends!